Welcome to Triumph IAS. It's a daily mains practice question and answer series. This program is exclusively designed for UPSC CSE aspirants. In this video discussion, we will discuss UPSC CSE mains previous 25-year questions.
Question number 1. Distinguish between religiosity, and communalism, giving one example of how the former has got transformed into the latter in independent India. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Religiosity is defined as conviction or adherence towards one's faith. Religiosity can encapsulate all dimensions of religion. The concept can also be used in a narrow sense to denote an extreme view and over-dedication to religious rituals and traditions. The main body of the answer should be Number 1. This rigid form of religiosity, known as religious fundamentalism, is often viewed as a negative side of the religious experience, which are deemed to be beyond the social norms of one's faith. Number 2. Communalism is defined as a belief that people who follow the same religion have common political, economic and social interests. Communalism is also referred as to aggressive chauvinism based on religious identity. Number 3. One of the characteristic features of communalism is its claim that religious identity overrides everything else. Communalism is a political ideology that appeals to people based on their religious affiliation, while religiosity is concerned only about religion. Religious experience in form of fundamentalism can be negative, but the broader view of religiosity shows positive side too, but communalism has a strictly negative connotation. Number 4. The seeds of communalism were sown in the pre-independence era by the British to consolidate their position in India. The Holocaust during partition established strong roots of communalism in India. It was further fueled by communal politics and appeasement of minorities by few parties to secure electoral victory. Number 5. Minorities were constantly tutored that they are safe only under patronage of few parties. Religious fanatics from majority also played their role in making the political atmosphere communal in India. The conclusion of the answer is, for example, worshipping cow is religiousness, but trying to punish a person involved in cow trade by religious fanatics without any legal authority is communalism. Religion today plays an important role in Indian politics, and it can be argued that communalism has sidelined religiosity. Question number 2. In the context of neoliberal paradigm of development planning, multilevel planning is expected to make operations cost-effective and remove many implementation blockages. Discuss. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Paradigm shifts are in order. In planning, the emphasis would shift from top-down to multi-level planning. Multi-level planning is expected to improve the position with regard to constraints in policy formulation and increase the efficiency of resource use in economic sectors. Moving on to the main body of the answer. Number 1. It would lead to better interest articulation with regard to local development needs and better inter-sector linkages and coordination in planning and implementation respectively at the local level. Number 2. Multi-level planning is also expected to make operations cost-effective by providing better linkages between relevant sectors and ready access to required information, which would remove many implementation blockages, for example, by way of delayed decisions. Number 3. Multi-level planning is expected to reduce regional disparities and bring more equity in development, since the chief factor behind persistent regional imbalances has been diagnosed as unstudied application of the macro plan at micro levels without necessary modifications detailing by the local development planners to address the particular requirements of an area target group. Number 4. Development planning is expected to simplify the implementation process by infusing role clarity, removing overlapping between sectors, and establishing needed linkages for set output levels. Number 5. Local development planners can decide on the territorial level, with Gram Sabha, Samiti or Jilla Parishad, where a function can be performed with maximum impact and economy. Also, Policy needs to be comprehensive with respect to all ramifications. Number 6. For required harmony, interactive mechanisms would have to be devised to collate information at each stage to ensure backward and forward linkages with regard to progress achieved, intersector impacts, externalities, requirements for improved performance, necessary horizontal, i.e. sector linkage, and vertical, i.e. sectoral hierarchy, linkages for integrated development. The conclusion of the answer is: caution in this regard would be avoiding organizational complexity by way of excessively tall hierarchies or unwieldy consultation processes, which could negate the effort. Processional constraints, therefore, would need to be overcome. Question number 3. China and Pakistan have entered into an agreement for development of an economic corridor. What thread does it dispose for India's security? Critically examine. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. India continues to oppose the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, a part of Beijing's One Belt One Road (OBER) initiative, as it encroaches on sovereignty and territorial integrity. The Economic Corridor (EC) passing through POK violating India's sovereignty has changed equation in the subcontinent, increasing Beijing's stakes in Pakistan more than ever before and compelling the Chinese leadership to overlook Islamabad's use of terror as state policy. The main body of the answer is: Number 1. The corridor has linked the two historical rivals of India. Chinese infrastructure development in the disputed territory between India and Pakistan is a violation of the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of India. Number 2. The corridor has witnessed Chinese military in Islamabad during the Pakistan Days Parade. The presence of Chinese military personnel near India's western border, in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, the presence of Chinese naval vessels in the area, the establishment of a naval base. Number 3. In the past too, India has criticized the Chinese-funded EC, which links China's Muslim-dominated Xinjiang province to the Gwadar deep-sea port in Pakistan, because it passes through Gilgit-Baltistan in POK, which India considers its own territory. Number 4. The EC incidentally gives China access to the Indian Ocean through the shortest possible land route available to it. The EC, seen as a Sino-Pakistani strategic project, culminates at the Baloch port of Gwadar and has seen massive Chinese economic investment, which is why it is actively backed by the Pakistani government and military. Number 5. India opposes the EC since New Delhi has always viewed POK as Indian territory under the illegal occupation of Pakistan since 1947 to 1948. Number 6. The highway which will be part of this conflicted area projects can be easily used by Pakistani troops for rapid mobilization against India in future. Number 7. The all-time presence of Chinese personnel along the corridor can also be a matter of concern for Indian defense agencies. The conclusion of the answer is: construction of infrastructure facilities in these disputed areas around POK can also provide the terrorists operating from the area with better logistics support, which will be a serious matter of concern for Indian defense.